As it turned 11 p.m, I was standing in a dusty field on the outskirts of Longwick with a torch and a whistle. It looked and felt like a scene from Close Encounters, surrounded by beams of light in all directions. Behind me, laser fingers waved through the sky, briefly exposing the silver pylons that crossed the site. To my left, a big wheel whirred, scattering excited screams into the warm night air. To my right, a bright halogen light illuminated the car parking area. In front of me, a convoy of headlights snaked from my torch beam all the way to the horizon. The sheer number of cars arriving was staggering. The police, still smarting from being beaten in court, refused to help, as did the local authorities, and despite us parking them as quickly as possible, the line of cars tailed back some 4 miles to the A40. Some ravers just abandoned them and headed across the fields, following the lasers and booming kick drum. No one walked from their cars. They all ran or skipped or leapt like rodeo horses or jubilant toddlers in a soft play car park. I saw so many familiar faces arriving. George Michael, Jonathan and Eco from London's top indie night Feet First at Camden Palace, French rock star Axel Bauer, Philippe Salon and Boy George, who was a regular that summer, EastEnder Daniela Westbrook, a Pet Shop Boy, Wild Child Amanda de Cadenet, a British Olympic swimmer, at least 2 Page 3 girls, most of the cast of Grange Hill, wee Papa Girl rappers, some bloke from TV show The Bill, and a saucer-eyed female ITN newsreader. More and more familiar faces I recognised from various aircraft hangars, warehouses and fields turned up. It felt like the whole world was at sunrise. After returning my torch and high-vis vest to the porter cabin, I entered the main arena and realised there must have been about 20,000 people present. In addition to the main stage, there was a huge blue circus big top overflowing with ravers who scurried around illuminated by glow-in-the-dark necklaces. I picked up a bottle of water at the bar and was intrigued to see a lone security man standing in front of a small stretch of red rope, which was strung between 2 traffic bollards. Behind the rope, glumly drinking champagne from flutes, and being completely ignored, were the immaculately attired and perfectly made-up pop stars, Mel and Kim. Overdressed and underwhelming, they were out of sync with the year zero aspect of 1989. Posing was out. Dancing was in. Pop stars were passé. It was all about the music. Note, it still wasn't about the DJ in 89. Their agents hadn't got their fingers into the pie at this stage. There were PAs too. Chrysiskov performed their Balearic banger Aphrodisiac. Easy Posse vogued and rapped their quirky anthem Everything Starts With an E. Rosette grooved through Ready for Love. And Doug Lazy was received like an old friend, with 20,000 voices rapping along to Let It Roll. Although there was a performance on stage, it felt somehow different to a concert where a performer exudes energy that's absorbed by the crowd, who collectively give it back, empowering the performer to reach a higher level. This chemistry was something I'd studied and worked with when I was a singer in a band for the previous 5 years. But here something different and much more interesting was going on. The PAs and DJs weren't the focus of the energy, just the largely anonymous facilitators. The crowd still responded as one entity, but fed off one another rather than the individual on stage. Instead of bouncing back and forth, the energy spiralled amongst and above us, a self-generating unifying vortex unhindered by personality or verbal manifesto. At one point, I found myself in the middle of the crowd, in front of the stage where the traditional mosh pit would be. A tribal chant started up, urgent and affirmative, and accompanied by collective fist pumps. Mental, mental, radio rental. Suddenly above our heads, a police helicopter appeared and maintained its presence for the next hour, spoiling the music with its incessant, irritating staccato, but improving the light show with a huge searchlight, which, when alighting on a group, would prompt either a sea of V's or pleas of, "Beam me up, Scotty!" A camera pointed out the open side door, recording evidence until the chopper became low on fuel and finally wheeled away to cheers. As I danced beneath the stars, it dawned on me that what I was doing wasn't new at all, but very old indeed. It suddenly made sense. We were connecting with a great dance, something I'd quizzed psychedelic saint Timothy Leary about the following year. At this moment, my merrymaking became a mission. A few years earlier, Margaret Thatcher had famously declared that there was no such thing as society. Yet the sense of unity I felt at these raves, people helping each other out, accepting each other's differences, sharing not only their water with strangers but also their love of being alive and an unspoken sense of togetherness, showed me she was wrong. Society grows from community and a sense of belonging. In a rave there's no individual. The crowd is one sentient being radiating energy. My ego dissolved into its mass, sacrificing individuality to become part of something bigger, something called society.